Okay, so today I'm just talking a little bit about gossip and trying to wrap my brain around why we do it. What are the benefits, if there are any? What are the merits? And I mean, generally speaking, I don't agree with gossip, but we do it so much, right? I mean, we talk about celebrities, we talk about friends, we talk about enemies. Why do we do that? What's the purpose of doing that? And yeah, so I guess I just wanted to look at that a little bit and talk about my experience or my thoughts around it, and yeah, so that's what this session is going to be about. Um, Again, if you want to support the platform, follow the links below and send any donations, or just give a listen. Um, Anyways, enjoy. Hear my thoughts. What do I think about gossip? I think gossip's natural. I don't think that I think when you're with friends, and friends will tell you about, they'll catch you up, I guess, on what's happening in other people's lives and stuff, and that's cool. That's I don't think that's a bad thing. Um, that you can sense there's a but coming. Well, okay, so here's my take on gossip. Um, People are entitled to their opinions, and stories do travel. Um, but what I've learned about people is that it's really difficult to know, right? And it's really, I think it's always important to have perspective on things, right? So let's say you're talking with friends, and you're getting some scoop on whatever so and so is doing, and yada yada yada. What I've always done with that, or I try to do with that, um, there isn't really. I don't think there's very much you can do with it, to be, because it's okay. So because first of all, it's secondhand. It's a secondary, but it's hearsay. So you recognize that the person who's telling you this, for whatever reason they're telling you this stuff, it might just be because it bothers them and they need to vent, and a person's allowed to vent. Or it might be because they want you to validate or take a side, or, it, right? It gives you a way of bonding maybe with people or something like that. And all people have their devices, whatever they use to sort of, create intimacy, I suppose. Uh, so so there is that. But what you do with it, I try not to internalize gossip. All right. The stuff that I hear about, I mean, I listen, and I try to listen with an open mind, I think, and uh, and generally speaking, I think that it depends on the person you're with too. Like I have, like if it's somebody that you have a real sort of closeness with, like for instance, if it was your partner, right? Your partner can tell you anything, right? That's not gossip, right? Right? Or I don't know, maybe it is. I could be wrong, but there are certain people that you have a level of intimacy with that allows you to just talk about anything, right? With openness, and it's not necessarily gossip because of the level of intimacy that you two have. It's more of an exploration of other people's lives, right? But it's not meant to be, from my perspective, it's not meant to be slanderous or judgmental or anything. It's just, this is what so and so is doing. This is what, I ran into blah blah blah, and this, um and it really does differ from person to person. There's some people you can sit with and they can tell you stories about it, and that when they're talking to you, they're not being judgmental. They're just sharing something because you're sharing, right? And so that process of doing that is very, to me, it doesn't feel, it doesn't have that, that weird, it's not like that. It's just, you're just talking about stuff. And there are times when you're doing that, and you're, discussing other people's lives, and it's really a way of, I guess it just depends, but it can be a window into other people's circumstances. Let's just say, I'm not defending gossip at all, okay? But I'm just saying that some people, or some of the experiences I've had, and I've had lots of people come in, they tell you stories, and but what I've noticed about the way different people talk about things is some people tell you stories from a perspective that is very loving and nurturing. So even if what they're talking about is maybe something that's not good, they're not talking about it in a way that's degrading or meant to be sort of, just, you're not really meant to, or they're not trying to tear this other person apart. They're just telling you about what's up, what's going on. And then other people get into the gossip, and the gossip is meant to hurt. The gossip is meant to destroy somebody. And so obviously the second kind is the kind that I do not condone. But I mean, I don't condone gossip in general, but what I recognize is that people do. We talk about each other, we tell each other's stories, and sometimes we do it with more or less sensitivity or compassion. And I think that's when we run into some issues, when it's done with malice or disregard, right? So that's a problem, I think. But I don't even know why that came up. I guess it's this idea of creating intimate spaces. I think it's a quality some people have, to be able to create intimate spaces, and spaces where people feel safe enough to divulge things about themselves, and or even about their points of view, right? So sometimes it's not just about what they tell you about themselves, but how they see the world, and they'll share that sort of through the framework of maybe, another friend that they have, or another experience that they've had with somebody else, blah, blah, blah. And I've always I think I've prided myself on being somebody who allows for that space for a person to be themselves. And I think I don't know if to me, it's an important thing to do. It's an important quality to have. And I always enjoy it when I see it in other people, because I think there's so much potential in that type of space. There's so much potential for, I think, interesting, or if not interesting, just it makes you feel good, I think. To be around somebody who's just, who can vibe like that. And it's not always easy. And I think maybe, too, if you're a little bit sensitive, or, you find people can be tricky, right? It's hard to know where those safe spaces are. And if you've lived a little while, it can be really, you've been through some things, and you're like, so it can be challenging. But that is one of my favorite things, is or qualities that certain people have, is this ability to create safe spaces. And I think one of the reasons why I think that's so important is because you get the best stories. Like, you get the best, not just stories, but that quality of openness is so accessible. It's so readily available when you're with somebody and you guys have that. So, and I tend to be somebody, I think anyways, these days, or maybe I always have been like this, trying to capture that in some way, shape, or form. So, and it's kind of, I mean, I don't know if this is true for everybody, but I feel like we have a world that's really cynical. Like, we have a world that's really, or can be. So I find it's a little bit, it's challenging to get to a space where you can sort of cut through the fat and get to the good stuff. So, and I guess part of my quest right now is part of my quest is to do that, is to get to the good stuff, and to find and carve out, or and create opportunities to be in that type of headspace.